Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of the Thursday Show. I hope you've had a good week, and yet again, what a week it has been. The day after a report out from the government that says racism is done, we got rid of it. That's it. Then a police officer gets convicted as being a neo-Nazi. That combined with the Sarah Everard episode, a police officer being accused of rape. I don't really know which one would be worse, to be arrested by the Met or to be working in their comms department. Because this is the thing, the guy didn't even check this guy's references, his school references, when actually being recruited to be a police officer, which makes you realize that my Amazon package delivery, when I have to go and pick it up from the post office, there is a more stringent background check. I have to take my passport, my driver license, proof of age, blood sample, swear of allegiance to the stamps. That is more stringent than actually becoming a police officer. That is a fact. And all of this ahead of a bank holiday. And the way that the economy has been tanking for the past 12 months, pretty much the last year has been one big bank holiday. So we are going to go out on an absolute bang. I hope you are snuggled up at home on the sofa with a beer, a wine, or something soft and ready for what promises to be an incredibly special show. Thank you very much to everyone that's watching. Tom, James, Becky, KO Scotland, and Jay Saunders. But it's not only me hosting the show tonight. Without further ado, let's bring the man that is the salt to my pepper. It's the wonderful Jay Sodagar.
Hey, brilliant. That was me thinking I was second, but no, apparently I'm first. Bless you. How are you, Dave?
I'm very good, and I'm also not looking at the spreadsheet. So yeah, there we go.
These production notes are they're just a guideline. They're just a guideline.
That's what Pirates of the Caribbean told me, which is actually a very good reference for what we got next.
Brilliant. It's been a good week for me this week. I left the house again. I went for another walk. Yes. And I've suddenly realized how white St. Albans really is. It's very, very white. It's like I had to check myself in the mirror just to check that I'm still Asian. It's so white here. It's unbelievable. But what else have I done this week? I paid off my credit card bill. And I when you go through your credit card statement, you just sort of check off that that's what you got. And I noticed that quite a lot of the stuff I use my credit card for is whenever I order food. So there's like McDonald's, there's like Nando's, there's all these kinds of things. And basically, if I'm paying it off on my credit card, I'm basically getting fat in installments. That's essentially what I'm doing. I'm paying off 10% each month, and obviously I'm gaining pounds as well as losing pounds, paying off my credit card. But yes, apparently, yes, as you said, racism doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Yeah. This is why I'm in St. Albans right now. This is why I'm in St. Albans. They say there isn't any kind of racism, but there is institutional racism, but on the other side. This is why we have all the corner shops and pretty much most of the accountancy firms in the UK. But this is the other thing. Like the whole thing about lockdown. I've suddenly realised, like, credit card companies, paying off my credit card bill, leads me to thinking that sort of like credit card interest rates are not real. They're literally like car insurance companies. They're just made up figures that they just charge. Like, for example, Argos, right? I went to go and buy something from Argos, right? And some light bulbs, in case you're interested, right? There you go. And they've got an Argos purchasing card, an Argos credit card, right? And they're charging 29.7% interest, right? 29.7%. Current bank base rate is 0.25%. What kind of country? What kind of people are they aiming for? Like Zimbabwe, or what kind of interest rates are they trying to charge around here? But this is how fucked up the UK is. It really is. But it's been good. It's been good this week. It's been good. How have you been, Dave? How have you been?
Very good. Apart from not looking at the the spreadsheet, I've got a little bit of chest on show. I've just realised that. What are we thinking about the chest? Like my chest and your head look the same, don't they? I quite like that.
A little bit of fluff.
It's nice, isn't it? Well, speaking of hair, let's bring in another man that is very well known for his hair, and not just on his head. It's the wonderful Vladimir McTavish. Which way is he going to be?
Good evening. Yes, here we are. Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, Dave. You should just be fucking glad your chest doesn't look like my head.
Yeah. Having said that, my pubes do look a bit like. Never mind.
I don't want to go there. I better just kind of address the elephant in the room in case anyone was wondering. Yes, anyone who did see this show 2 weeks ago, and we know we have one regular viewer, may remember I actually cut my own hair on screen 2 weeks ago. I actually tried to cut my own hair 5 minutes before the start of this show, and my clipper's battery ran down, so I've got half a haircut.
Can we see the other side?
No, fuck all. This is all you're going to see. I've cut enough for it to work if I'm like this. See, this is the good thing. This is the good thing about Zoom gigs, or these online gigs. You think, look, it doesn't really matter. We do what the fuck you want me here. And I must admit, I'm second year in a row. I'm really, really grateful that we're doing this show online, because this is Easter, which traditionally is a fucking shit weekend, isn't it?
Shut up! I love Easter.
What, Easter gigs? Easter gigs are terrible. Good Friday gigs, they're almost like Christmas shows. They're fucking awful. I think some of the worst audiences I've ever had have been Good Friday gigs because they've been drinking all bloody day. I once did a show where a guy wandered in. It was a solo show on tour in Brighton, and a guy wandered in at the interval. And he'd quite clearly been drinking all day and had a bloody clue what was happening. No, Easter's just become this ridiculous booze fest, which is, when you think about it, it's what Easter was always about, isn't it? Because, no, you think the Last Supper, that's all about booze, isn't it? And that is what gives us the communion in the Holy Communion now in the church. That's based on the Last Supper. Christ took the bread and he handed it out to his disciples and said, "This is my body, eat this and think of me. For in the morning, one of you will betray me." Then he got the wine and he poured that out and he said, "This is my blood, drink it and think of me. For in the morning, one of you will betray me." That to me sounds like some gangster getting paranoid because his mates are got it in for him. Hey, you! It's my blood! Fucking drink it! Drink my blood! Come on, you bastard! Drink my fucking blood! One of you cunts is going to betray me, right? I think it's just a good thing that we're drinking red wine. The Bible would have been totally different if they'd been on the Chardonnay that night, wouldn't it? Right? It's my piss! God, fucking drink it! Drink my fucking piss! Just as well, here it comes, the punchline that really this joke doesn't deserve, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just as well, they weren't drinking Bailey's Irish Cream. The whole thing is, a bunch of guys go out, have a meal, get quite a bit of drink, get in a spot of bother. One of them ends up, finally, one of them ends up nailed to a cross, right? He just disappeared for 3 days. Nobody had a fucking clue where he'd gone to. And then he turned up 3 days later in a cave. I mean, it's quite remarkable that Christianity has based its whole thing on what was effectively a stag night gone wrong. But up here in Scotland, as well as cutting my own hair, I've, as is the fashion in this country now, I've started my own political party. We're all doing it. We're all doing it. A Scottish comedian has, I'm not going to give him the oxygen of publicity for the handful of people that watch this show. But a Scottish comedian has is going to stand for Scottish Parliament against the government's hate crime bill. So basically, standing on a ticket of being allowed to make racist jokes.
You should get a job in the Met.
You should, yeah. Well, and you're talking about background checks. You do have background checks. I would fail a background check. I'll tell you why. I'm 5'5.5". That's all they're bothered about. It's how tall you are. You might be a racist, but he's only 5'5.5". We're not letting him in. But as well as that, former First Minister Alex Salmond has started his own party, the Alapa Party, Alapa being the Gaelic for Scotland. They don't really seem to have any policies that are any different from the SNP, which is understandable because all of them used to be in the SNP. I'm just waiting to see what their policy is on sexual harassment in the workplace. It's going to be quite an interesting one when they come out with that. But the great thing about it is it's really fucked up the Tory party and Labour and the Lib Dems, because basically this all goes back to that committee that he gave evidence to, and they all believed his word because they were trying to find a reason to get Nicola Sturgeon. So they all believed Alex Salmond's version of events. But now they've all come out and said, "Oh no, this guy's he's not a fit person to be running a political party." Even though 2 weeks ago we believed every single word he said, now we've decided he's a wrong one. Yes, we have our parliamentary elections in 4 weeks today, I believe. And election countdown has started here in Scotland. And all the leaders of the 5 main parties have been out in the campaign trail, including this man here. Yes. Now, some of you might be thinking, I haven't a clue who that guy is. And the reason you're thinking I haven't a clue who that guy is, because you haven't a clue who that guy is. This is the leader of the Liberal Democrats in Scotland. Yeah, that's a real thing. A guy called Willie Rennie. He's been the leader of the party for 10 years. And you might think you haven't a clue who the guy is. Quite a lot of people in Scotland haven't a clue who this guy is. Despite being utterly anonymous, Willie Rennie has that marvellous Midas touch for the embarrassing photo opportunity. I make no apologies for showing this. I'll look from the election of 5 years ago, 2016, where he did this marvellous thing where he visited a city farm in Edinburgh. And this is
finally to the pigs. For no discernible reason, Willie Rennie starts mucking out their sty.
Because it stinks.
Who'd have thought, eh?
Leave it.
It's not going well. The pigs decide to help. Still, laugh it off, eh?
We like to organise our visits to send a message in pictorial terms. And I think this does it very well today.
Oh, it does that. For now, let's leave him.
I love that line where the pigs are shagging in the background. He said, "This sounds like a message in pictorial terms."
Let's just say, thank God it wasn't David Cameron that visited that farm. I mean, Jesus Christ. Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Jay. And we are going to get cracking on with the show. Also, a huge thank you to everyone watching Rockin' Animal, Basil Botherer, Richard Wright, Jay Saunders, Kyo Scotland, Becky, Jade 105. I could go on. Thank you so much for your love. Let us know that you're there. Give us a like, give us a share. And of course, this show is free to watch. It's not free to make. So if you are feeling in your generous Eastery spirit, then there is our donation link. I'm also going to chuck it up as it is our Easter show based on what Vlad has just said. Genuine question. If Christianity is based on eating the body of Christ, can you be a Catholic vegan? That's the question this week. If you are eating, as the transubstantiation, the actual body of Christ, Can you be a vegan? That's just a question for you. Right. I am very excited to welcome our first act for the show. She's a writer, comedian, podcaster, history presenter. I've just seen her incredible show that she's involved in on Netflix, which is absolutely brilliant. But she's an amazing performer in her own right. Her name is Iszi Lawrence. And let's just have a quick look at her in action.
Right.
Hello. Hello. Excellent. You're all sort of here. You're all looking at me strangely, the way people do. I understand why. This look gets me in trouble quite a lot, as it happens. At Halloween, I went to a gig and I went straight to a Halloween party afterwards and accidentally won Best Costume. Yeah. As I quote, the ghost of Sue Perkins. I hate you for laughing at that. At the same time, I am grateful, but yeah, I'm a bit frustrated at the moment anyway. I'm in a long-term relationship with a man. Yes, a man. I know. Some blokes in here are going, what? Somebody wants to have sex with David Lynch? Yeah. But yes, you won't know this because you're all very young. If you're in a relationship, it's an older man as well. And the old stereotype about comedy is that, women, we get headaches and we don't like to, do it. Actually, it's the opposite. If you're in a long-term relationship with a man, it is very difficult to make love if there's food in the house. A genuine conversation I had over Christmas was, oh, what now? Oh, but there are brownies downstairs. How about I eat a brownie, masturbate, and you can watch? There's no joke there. That's just bitterness. It is much better, though, than living with my old flatmates, because at university, I made the mistake of living with Christians. Now, if you are Christian, do know I do love you dearly. I'm going to make some jokes, okay? Right? It doesn't mean anything, right? It's just jokes. It's only words. It's like prayer.
Brilliant. You may have heard me laughing right the way throughout. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first guest on tonight's show. Please go on, go crazy, and give it up for the one and the only Netflix special lady herself, Iszi Lawrence.
Hello. Nice to be here. I feel already inadequate because you saw my hair on that video, and you've seen Vlad's hair already, and now mine. I'm turning badger-like. It's blame COVID. That's all I can say.
I'm envious. I'm going for the mad professor look right now. I'm going to look. There you go.
Yeah,
I've invented time travel. Bless you. It's lovely to have you on, Izzy. I haven't seen you in such a long time.
So long.
I know,
like a decade nearly. It's ridiculous.
It has been a decade. Lockdown's been all interesting. One of the most interesting gigs I've done is fucking car park gig. Have you done a car park gig?
I've done. Well, I had. You have to understand. I live near Oxfordshire. I live in Reading, but I like to think it's Oxfordshire, really. And I did a gig for Jericho Comedy up there, and they had rented 2 fields near Wantage. So you had all of these, people with their black labs and their sort of boots, their Wellington boots and their cars and that sort of thing. But I had that thing that you get on stage. I was emceeing the night, and so I was introducing acts and going on in between. So I was getting used to hearing the muffled sounds of laughter from inside of windscreens and the occasional wipe when they were happy. I felt a bit like a seagull. Anyway, so I was thinking, I had this thing because it was just before introducing the last act and people sort of settling back into their cars, and they had the front row had their lights on, sort of like their headlights on as well to help light the stage, and it was a bit of fun. And then I just had this thing where I was just telling a joke. You know how you do that thing when you're in your head when you're telling a joke that you know quite well. And I just thought, what if they all started their engines up and just drove towards it? What a way to die. It's like a horror show as they sort of come. And I was just thinking this, and then headline act, and then introduce them. So yeah, it's been a very strange time doing sort of these sort of weird Zoom gigs and then grabbing a bit of stage time when you can and just enjoying it while it's still here,
My gig was not even 10% as enjoyable as what you've gone through. It was 20 minutes of just basically a few people beeping, and then you do that typical question, sort of like, okay, cool, beep your horns if you're in a couple, and flash your lights if you're single, and then put your other hand that you're not using if you are single down firmly in your lap. There you go. And no one laughed. No one laughed. All I heard
They might have done. I mean, windscreens are very thick. That's what you have to remember.
That's the excuse I'm staying with. There you go. But listen, you've been a busy gal. You're on Netflix. You're on Netflix.
You're doing. It sounds so impressive, doesn't it? I'm one of these people because I do a lot of. I present Making History on Radio 4, and I do a lot of history presenting type stuff. So because I'm not funny enough to just do comedy, you see. But now I'm feeling very smug. I didn't try at one thing. So I could do a bit of stand up, whatevs. I can also, let you know all about history from all different times. So I do British Museum member cast, Making History Radio 4, and this Netflix show is called The Lost Pirate Kingdom. And the best thing about it is in episode 5, they talk about the cure for syphilis, which is injecting mercury into a penis. Okay, not only do they show the penis being injected because it's Netflix and they can, but they also show the penis. Then they cut to me sat in a chair going straight into the penis, and then they cut back to the penis. I'm so happy. I'm so happy about it. I want to make a family crest with that as the motto. Straight into the penis. I mean, it'll make everybody cross their legs.
Ecto penidium or whatever.
Yeah. So if you want to see that, Netflix, The Lost Pirate Kingdom is actually quite good.
Yes.
But it's good for the history, man. It's all about history.
Absolutely.
So
You're very, very busy. You're doing 4 podcasts, is that correct?
Yeah. So Seti Sopo, that's the silly comedy one. That is where me and Simon Dunn discuss the opposite of things which do not have a natural opposite. Like, what is the opposite of a motorway? Tarama Salata, obviously. So things like that. Then I've got a history one. So I've got the British Museum member cast, which, is basically like proper history, Z-List, Dead-List, which is more silly history, which bit stand up, lots of guests on it, that sort of thing. And then I've got Terrible Lizards, which is my new lockdown podcast, which is all about dinosaurs, because I love dinosaurs. I knew nothing about them. And then I was at a party last Christmas, like in 2019, and I was really drunk because teenagers were mixing the drinks. That you say, can I have a gin and tonic? And they go, right, so that's half gin and half tonic. So I was bladdered, and I was sat down, and there's this lovely man, and and I started talking about me, obviously, because it's a party, and he was just like, didn't you go to Bristol University? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, how do you know that? And he was like, we used to live together. I was like, oh! Anyway, his name is Dave, Dr. Dave Hone, and he is now a world-renowned paleontologist. And so lockdown happened. It felt like the end of the world. Why not talk about dinosaurs?
Beautiful. No, exactly. I have been to a few of those little teenager type of parties before where they do not know how to mix. In fact, in 2001, I took my cousins who were 16 and 18 to Trafalgar Square, all right? And they bought these Coke bottles, right? And they wanted to make vodka and Coke, which is about that much vodka and about that much Coke, all right?
Sounds right.
And me being like the grown up, I was like 25.
The enabler.
Exactly. I convinced myself that I was the responsible one. So I thought, you know what? If I drink as many of those bottles, that means that they're not drinking it, so they won't get drunk. 2 hours later, we wake up in hospital A&E with me like this all over the place, right? And ever since then, my title of being the responsible one in the family got taken away. And then obviously
there's a BoJack Horseman episode in this. I'll be it's quite.
Yes, no. They still don't talk to me. No. But you've been doing comedy. I just mentioned 2001, but you started 2001, 2003?
No, I did my first gig when I was still a teenager and at school because I lied to Alex Petty and I did a gig for Laughing Horse and I was like, yeah, I'm 18. I was 15. So I did a gig then, and I was pretty awful, but I got off stage quick, so Alex rebooked me. So that was good. And then, so I did a little bit then, but then I started up properly at university because I sort of, went to see the comedy nights there. So my first, what I consider my first proper gig when I wasn't, I had pubic hair, that was at university in Bristol. And this was the lineup of my first gig. It was Mark Olver, the brilliant Mark Olver comparing. This was a free gig. Mark Olver, then John Richardson opening. After him was Will Hodgson, Perrier winning Will Hodgson. There's a break. After him, Russell Howard, just trying out a bit of stuff. Then Izzy Lawrence. Then another break. Then John Robbins, right, on there. And then headlining Rich Kilby, who was the funny one, who gave up comedy a year later to do his PhD.
Wow.
But Rich Kilby, of all of them, was the funny one.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that was between 2003, 2004, something like that. And yeah.
Well, on this, I remembered some of the bills that I was on way back when we were all open spots and we were all gigging around and all this kind of stuff. And I was on a bill with Russell Howard, Daniel Kitson. They were all open spots, right? Daniel Kitson, me, and Jeannie Yashere, right?
Wow.
And yes, we were all doing little like 10-minute spots. And the headliner, right, was, I kid you not, the headliner was a bloke called the Cot Death Kid, all right? This was the alternative days.
I've had the punchline. You know how you write a punchline to a joke, which you haven't written the joke for? The punchline of my joke is apricot death. And I've never been able to put it in a joke where it just isn't completely inappropriate. But that's amazing. It's weird though, like at uni, because Mark Olver knows everybody and he's amazing. He would book Kitson to come down and try out at these nights. You pay a £5 and you see Kitson or Russell Brand and stuff. And I remember being sat in a room with 9 people watching John Oliver and Andy Zaltzman. And it was brilliant.
I remember, this is an Edinburgh story now. I remember John Oliver and Andy Zaltzman took over. There used to be a gig at C venues called The Establishment, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it was downstairs in this kind of theatre area. And they got John Oliver and Andy Zaltzman got a dry ice machine, right? And they put it behind the curtain, right? And John Oliver was doing this American act, right? And every time he hit a punchline, Andy Zaltzman would press on this dry ice machine that would shoot out air. They literally filled the entire auditorium. Literally, you could not even see your hands in front of your face. They had to open the doors, fumigate the whole place to get everybody out. And
I just remember them holding up a tomato and interviewing God as an existential offstage voice about the tomato, and God was Daniel Kitson, just completely mucking up every single punchline they had. It was wonderful. But Edinburgh's, like that. I miss it though. I miss the live stage stuff. Fortunately, I've been busy because I've been writing. I'm just going to plug my book now, Jay. I'm sorry, I'm going to be absolutely ridiculous. If you know any short people, I've got a book. It's based on real history about jiu-jitsu suffragettes because they existed. They were Pankhurst's bodyguard, and I've got a book called The Unstoppable Letty Peg, which is all about them. So yeah, you should get this book. There you go.
Yay! Look, jiu-jitsu suffragettes. I'm sold already.
There we go. I'm not a huge, massive, pluggy person at all. That's not what I do at all.
Of course,
I'm very chill.
What do you think this is? The Jonathan Rush show? Come on.
I know. I think. It could be. It's been lockdown. He could have changed into you, Jay. Maybe. Not wearing that velvet.
I'd love to see him with a bald pater. That's what I'd like to see. But listen, stick around. We've got loads of fun and games to sort of come on through. But yeah, it's lovely to see you, Izzy. Let's bring back. Yeah, hi, it's beautiful to see you. Let's bring back the others, and let's see. They're over there. They're over there. They're over there. They're over there.
They're everywhere.
That was brilliant. Well, there you go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of the love in the comments. Thank you to Jay, to Carol, to Christy, who is joining us late, of course, to Richard, also to Jade, Emily, and Anna, please keep those comments coming while you are there. Give us a thumbs up as well. And don't forget, it's not too late to donate. This show is free to watch. It's not free to make. So there you go. Also, while you are there, you can go and buy Izzy's book, which you will see a plug of later on, The Unstoppable Letty Peg, all about people like me and Vlad who are vertically challenged. But speaking of Vlad, it is now his time to do an interview himself with the one, the only LJ DeFunk.
Wow, fantastic.
Anyway, let's have a sing song. You can all join in if you know the words. I'm all up back that bass, no treble. I'm all up back that bass, no treble. The irony is, the woman who sings that song is actually a mezzo soprano. She's so about the treble, she's practically Raymond Van Barneveld. Now, if you did not laugh at that, I want you to go home, look on the Wikipedia, and find out why it's hilarious. My comedy is best enjoyed retrospectively.
We are absolutely delighted to have on the show at very short notice, filling in for Mark Nelson, who's indisposed at the last minute, all the way from Greenbow, Alabama, where I first saw him work. He's been over to the UK several times since, but he is an absolute legend in American comedy. Please welcome to this very show, the marvellous LJ DeFunk.
Good evening, Vladimir. How are you? Nice to be there. I'm coming here all the way from my bedroom in Alabama.
So yeah, thanks for coming on at short notice and across the time zones. So what time is it over there?
Ooh, what time is it? It's the middle of the night. No, it's the afternoon. I sleep all day and I work all night. I have no idea. It's about lunchtime. I had my biscuit from Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's not what you would call a biscuit.
But I'm sure you can play a game with that biscuit anyway, so.
We don't do that here because we is not disgusting and a biscuit is something else.
So how are things in the States, LJ?
Oh, it's fucked up. So everybody got the COVID and was all dying. And it's all because we're separated the politics by states. Some of the states is fucked. Some of the states is fine. And they can't agree on shit. So it's bad. But I'm okay. I live in Alabama with the crocodiles. So I got more chance of dying because of those motherfuckers.
So you had your vaccine. I got my vaccine a couple of weeks ago because I'm old.
I don't have no vaccine because I understand that William Gates will put fucking Windows Vista in that shit and make me put, I don't know, media player on my computer. So I don't touch no vaccine because I don't want to be infertile for no William Gates. So instead, I just stays away from the crocodilies.
Listen, mate, it's so good of you to come on the show at, like I said, short notice, because we've missed you. Because you have been a big supporter of our country. You've come over here a lot. You were at Edinburgh Fringe several times, and I know you're a big fan of our culture, certainly our 1970s sitcoms. Unlike a lot of people in the States, you're a big, you know about our comedy, don't you?
I do know about you. I don't think there's many Yankee motherfuckers would do an entire hour show about Ruth Maddock from High to High. However, as a big fan of English comedy, I did put in the effort to do a 1 hour show about Ruth Maddock, who played the short-haired Welsh lady in High to High. And I think your country owes me a lot of respect. Not your country, because you is Scottish, and all I do is turn up there once a year and cause mayhem. But very much the rest of the UK should respect LJ for turning up and embracing the comedy culture.
Yeah, so Ruth Maddock, I mean, you're a huge fan. I found this out, I think, the first time I saw you. What is it about Ruth Maddock? I mean, because let's face it, Hi. I mean, it was, I think, a groundbreaking sitcom. We'll agree. I think everyone thought after On the Buses, that can't be topped. But no, they managed it with Hi.
I mean, Hi is the finest sitcom I ever saw. People, when I'm in New York City, people would say to me, "Ooh, Seinfeld, you like the Seinfeld?" I say, "I shit on you. I shit on you." Because I watched the Hi. It's not just Ruth Maddox, Paul Shane, Jeffrey Holland, Simon What's-His-Face. Ooh, yeah. It's a holiday camp. You understand that? A holiday camp blows my mind. It's so funny. So that's the best comedy.
And I mean, apart from Hi, obviously, I'm very well aware of your love of that. Any other of our sitcoms from that golden era? Let's face it, with the golden era of British comedy.
Well, I'm a big fan of You Rang My Lord. Now, I don't know if you know You Rang My Lord, but it featured Sue Pollard, Jeffrey Holland, Paul Shane. Many of the highlights of Hi realized there was never going to be another pinnacle of comedy. So they all got together and they created You Rang My Lord. However, one thing was missing: Ruth Maddox.
Yeah, I know. My favorite was Are You Being Served? Did you get that in the States?
We did get it in the States. However, I turned it off in seconds because none of my favorites was there. No Jeffrey Holland, no Paul Shane, no Ruth Maddox, no Sue Pollard, just Johnny and me. I would have watched it, but there's nothing for me. There's nothing for me. I need my Ruth Maddox. Let me tell you a story, Vladimir. I played Gunther in Friends. You don't believe it because I wear the getup, but I was Gunther. And I hated myself. So I thought, I'm in a sitcom with no Ruth Maddox. And that's why Gunther was written out the show. Because Gunther, decided no Ruth Maddox, no Gunther. And that is why I started a charity to raise money for that.
Well, I reckon what you could do is we could actually start an online petition to bring back Ruth Maddox.
No, she's dead. She's dead. She died.
The thing is,
she died of COVID. I thought she died of alligators, but she died of COVID. Who'd have thought? It could be ironic.
Could be one of the few things that few good things to come out of COVID, because we've no international travel, we can't take holidays abroad, we can only go and have holidays in holiday camps. So perhaps it is the time to bring back Hi.
Yeah, but Ruth Maddox is dead, so it'd be disrespectful. She died of the COVID.
Did she die of COVID?
She died of the COVID.
Well, right.
She was in the ICU. I don't know what that is, but I think it's bad. She died. It must be bad, and she dead. It's pity. I don't know if I made this clear. I'm a big fan of Ruth Maddox. I don't have much going for me apart from my appreciation from the short-haired Welsh sitcom star Ruth Maddox. Pretty niche, but some people might appreciate that. And for those few people, this is probably the best thing they ever experienced. So I stick with that.
And you are doing a 1 hour show about Ruth Maddox, which now obviously tinged with a bit of sadness, given her sorry demise. Are you still going to carry on with that as a tribute?
Am I going to do my Ruth Maddox funeral show? Yeah. Yes, I am. Why? I would not do that if she was alive. That'd fuck up her family. Mr. Maddox, fuck me. I would not risk that. ridiculousness. But thankfully, as she's dead, my Ruth Maddox funeral show will make a lot of sense in the Ruth Maddox no longer alive sphere.
Well, of course, under current restrictions, your Ruth Maddox funeral show could only play in front of 15 people.
That is more than any of my other shows have ever played in front of. I would consider that a full house.
Now, of course, it's not. I mean, because you and I, we've talked a lot about your love of British culture, and I know it's not just Ruth Maddox. I know for a fact you are a huge fan of Kate Bush.
I'm an enormous fan of Kate Bush. I like all of her songs, Wuthering Heights, and the other ones as well.
So what are your plans? Obviously, you're not going to come over here this year because of well, you can't.
Well, then I have news for you. One, I'm going to cover myself in goose fat and swim across the Atlantic. That's the kind of motherfucker I am, and I shall be performing a song at. No, Carol McGuigan is wrong. Ruth Maddox is dead. She's dead. You're disrespecting the dead. She's dead. I will be singing all the way across in goose fat to the UK and doing a Brighton Fringe show all about the paranoia of conspiracy motherfuckers. And I love those.
Well,
did you know they replaced Avril Lavigne? They did. I'm doing a show about that for an hour.
Right. Yeah. No, it has been pointed out that Ruth Maddox is alive in Norfolk. It's also been pointed out that might not count as being alive.
I mean, I didn't want to disrespect the inbred people of the East Country. I don't know. I don't got a compass. All I got is my brains. But I think Ruth Maddox is probably dead. But I would like it if she joined this show and at the end it was Ruth Maddox on the screen telling me I'm wrong.
Tell you what, we could try that.
Could we get Ruth? Get a runner. Do we have any runners on this show?
No.
Ruth Maddox. I like that.
We've barely got any technical backup in this show at all.
We're lucky to have guests. I wasn't even a guest until I had to interrupt my Thursday. And it is Maundy Thursday. That is a hell of a Thursday to interrupt to appear on a comedy show. I was preparing to be, I don't know, crucified.
So you are intending to come back here, aren't you? Somehow.
I'm going to be at the Brighton Fringe this year.
All right, yeah.
Doing my comedy show. Not about Ruth Maddox. That's a dead horse that I've been flogging too many years. But I'm going to be doing whatever it says on the screen is a better representation of what I'm doing than I could describe with my audio.
Yep, LJ the Funk conspiracy motherfucker. So what's it? Well, tell us what it's about.
Well, it's all about it's a show all about how a lot of people believe that the COVID is all a hoax and that they replaced Avril Lavigne. And I first imagined it would mostly be poking fun at these crazy motherfuckers who think that scientists is creating a hoax. But actually, I thought it's funnier to spend an hour explaining that they replaced Avril Lavigne. So it's going to be somewhere between the two.
Well, there was, obviously, I don't know if you got this over there, but yeah, there was a rumor here that the vaccine contained chips. I thought that was just a way of trying to get British people to take it.
I think so too. But I had did you have the vaccine? You're old dude. You had
both. I've had it. Yeah.
What is your view on Windows Vista?
My view on Windows Vista is I can highly recommend it. As with everything else,
it has been proven that the vaccine is full of pro-Bill Gates propaganda.
Everything Microsoft have ever produced has been absolutely brilliant. I came to that conclusion 4 weeks ago, after an appointment at the Leith Medical Health Centre where someone stuck a needle in my arm. But then that happens all the time in Leith.
Well, at least they didn't stick a needle in your dick.
Well, yeah. Well,
Right in the penis, or whatever that was.
Straight in the penis. Straight
in the penis.
Yes. I'm going for my syphilis jab next week. Listen, LJ, I really hope you manage to make it to Brighton.
I hope so too, but I gotta swim across the Atlantic in goose fat. Wish me luck. I gotta go up the Suez. I don't want to get stuck like that boat.
Oh yeah. The monster ship.
Yeah, but it's free now, so everything's fine.
Yeah. We are gonna play some games in a minute, so do stick around. You are a beacon of truth in a filthy pile of lies.
I tell the truth. I tell it like it isn't. You know how it isn't? That's how I tell it, because I'm full of shit. Anyway, as you was.
Listen, folks, do stick around, LJ. We're going to do quite a lot of stuff to finish the show, but before we go, let's share it one more time for the marvelous LJ the Funk. Hey. We're going to hand you back to, something technical happening here.
Look at that. I mean,
Ruth Maddock is dead. I googled it. Ruth Maddock is dead. I love the fact that everyone googled.
Don't be delighted by that.
Hey, I killed her. I killed the motherfucker. Finally, I've done a surreptitious murder. I'm over the moon.
Well, I feel really bad that while you were busy Googling that, I was busy looking that Avril Lavigne was actually one of the voices in the kids' show Over the Hedge. You know that?
Right. Yeah. It was not Avril Lavigne, it was whoever they replaced her with.
Well, which could have been Ruth Maddock.
Might have been. Could have been Sue Pollard.
Yep.
Speaking of getting rid of people from this mortal coil, that brings us very nicely on to our game, which we like to play, which is called Desert Island Digs. So there you go. We got Izzi to draw the graphic. There we go. She's got to inject mercury down the urethra. So if you haven't seen this game before, basically this is the idea of who would you get rid of out of the annals of history. You would consign them to a desert island all on their own. Now, as our history buff and our resident expert, Izzi, out of history, who would you get wrong? And don't forget, if you don't say Hitler, that makes you anti-Semitic.
Well, I'm going to go before Hitler. Who turned Hitler into Hitler? The First World War, right? Who's responsible for the First World War? I know you're all going to say Gavrilo Princip, but you're wrong. I think it was Kaiser Wilhelm II, who was Queen Victoria's grandson, and he was a massive cock bell end thing. But the thing is, right, he basically, Germany was doing all right, and it was kind of it hated France, but it's kind of getting along with Russia, and he just went, fuck Russia. He was one of those. But the best thing about him was he's a really mixed up teenager, and he used to write home, because he basically grew up a bit in the UK, and he used to write home to his mum in Germany that he wanted to fuck her hand. Now, this, at the same time as the man had a deformed hand, he was born with his arm in the wrong place, and the doctors yanked it, and so it didn't grow properly. So it's really like he had a really powerful handshake in one hand, but his other hand was really withered. And there are all these letters which are all about the matter. I was very much like I imagine your hands, and I would like to kiss them.
Maybe he just really understood what a hand job was. I don't
think he seriously. I think he was the sort of man who would spend his entire adult life with a massive boner and not know what it was for, because he literally had no sex education. He'd have been like that. So he's responsible for the First World War for those historical reasons I have outlined.
Speaking of those sort of people that go around with a massive boner, LJ, who would you like to consign to a desert island from the annals of history?
Well, I'm glad you asked me, Jimmy. I would like to consign Ruth Maddock. Because as long as she's alive, my general shtick is she's a dead motherfucker who got eaten by alligators is a falsity. And I do not want to be taken for some kind of buffoon who just makes up shit for the sake of some dumb comedic whim. So, go, I would see Ruth Maddox dead like a dog.
So Ruth Maddox being eaten by crocodiles, which brings us very nicely on, almost like we planned it, to our next game, which is Dave's Big History Quiz. There it is.
That's amazing.
Question number 1. This is to really test our guests' knowledge of history, and not really putting anyone on the spot, but Izzy, as you do podcasts, as you present on Radio 4, and as Zach, as LJ. Oh God. Move on. I didn't say anything. As LJ's from America, no one expects anything of him. So the first question is, true or false, King Tutankhamun was killed by being eaten by a crocodile? Izzy, we're going to go to you
false.
first.
False.
Okay, we're going false. LJ.
I also say false, because Izzy knows all about history, and she cannot be wrong.
Or I'm trying to put you off, LJ.
You would not sacrifice yourself for me. You're not Indiana Jones. You know about some shit. You ain't Indiana Jones. No, come on. Why would you stop blockbusters? Bob Holders is deader than Ruth Maddox. It's whatever she said. Amen.
I want to rip off my face and reveal it's Ruth Maddock underneath here. That's what I want to do.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is, Izzy, you've gone false. Can you tell us why you've gone for false?
Because I think he died when he was a teenager with a broken leg or something wrong with his leg. But nothing.
I think it was a hippopotamus killed him. He was
More
killed
likely
by
to
a
be
hippopotamus.
More
You
likely
are
to be
absolutely right. You are right. He was eaten by a hippopotamus.
He was eaten, though, wasn't he?
Fucking shit.
Honestly, he went on a day trip to the zoo and he crawled in the cage. They had loads of them then in ancient.
Hippopotamuses are more dangerous than crocodiles. That is fact.
Ooh. Yeah. Which is why Hungry Hippos is actually really inappropriate for kids.
Dangerous.
There we go. Question number 2. This one goes to LJ. The 100 Years' War was less than 100 years. True or false?
I believe that is false.
Oh, Izzy.
I think it was more. It wasn't 100 years, but it was getting on. There was a 10 years. I don't know. So I'm going to go false.
False. I'm going to ask LJ. What is your reasoning for thinking it's false?
I am on the administrative round robin, so I have the answer.
It was longer, surely, actually. I'm going to go longer. I'm saying it's longer.
Yeah, great. Well, you may. I just realised the fundamental flaw with this game. You'd never get this on game shows like Who Would Want to Be a Millionaire, would you? So, yes, LJ is correct. We were both correct. It actually lasted 116 years. So the 100 Years' War is a very
40?
1337.
Okay.
So about 20 to 2 in the afternoon. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's a misleading term, like fun run. It doesn't actually mean that it was 100 years. The final question that I'm going to ask is not going to be from the sheet.
Oh no.
Who came first, Socrates or Plato? I'm going to ask that first to Izzy. Looks like she's in pain, so I want to go to you because I want to know what's going on in your head right now.
Well, I think that Plato was Socrates' student, but then wasn't he Hippocrates' student? And then I'm just doing that in my head. So I'm going to go with my instinct, which says that Plato was Socrates' student. And it's called Plato because he had a flat head.
Did he? Didn't he have like a squibby nose as well?
It's like a nickname. It's like Caligula means little boots. I mean, it's all like they're funny, you know. It's like literally, you know, they're stupid. Like my name's Izzy, you know, it's a stupid name.
And LJ, who came first, Socrates or Plato?
Well, I don't really. Unfortunately, this was not on the administrative round robin, and I don't. You may not know this about me, but I don't know shit. However, I trust that Izzy Lawrence knows something.
Socrates is a little double-ass
whatever she said is probably the right answer. I wouldn't want to go against it for the sake of being controversial. That's not my style.
Well, you're both wrong. Actually.
Yeah. Who was before Plato then? Was it Hippocrates?
Well,
here?
You're actually both wrong because Descartes never proved that we actually exist anyway. So we are all brains in a vat. So
did you just refer to Descartes as Descartes?
Descartes.
Is that Descartes? Oh well, my eyes is Les Yurks. Looking through Les Yurks at this. I'm looking at you through Les Yurks, trying to understand why you're so uncultured, Dave Chawner.
Descartes didn't have a ruler. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That is fact. Descartes used to fold over a piece of. He didn't have a ruler. He had a. We're talking 17th century here, so I know my shit, right? Descartes didn't use a ruler. He used a piece of paper he folded over and used a line to underline stuff because he was a cheap git. Anyway,
Vlad, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that it was definitely Plato.
Plato was first.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it's Hippocrates, Plato, then Socrates.
I personally saw Socrates play for Brazil in the 1980s.
Oh, man.
And he is dead.
On that absolute gold, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to our wonderful guests, Izzy Lawrence, LJ DeFunk, and of course, Jay and Vlad. Finally, now that she's good and alive and definitely does not dye her hair and eyebrows, we can go on to Izzy Lawrence. So you go, Izzy, what would you like to plug? Everyone that's watching, what should they buy from you?
They should buy this book. It's called The Unstoppable Letty Peg. It is very good. Go to iszi.com. You'll find out all my links. Look, izzy.com. It's amazing. But there we go. Buy The Unstoppable Letty Peg. And I have a new book out in September, so look out for that. Thank you.
The Unstoppable Letty Peg. That's absolutely brilliant. And LJ, while you get goose fatted up and come over here, where can people see you live?
I believe the question is, what would I like to plug? And I would once again like to plug Jay Sodagar's mother. And if you see any advertising for my shows on screen, do not come along. I don't want audience members. We got social distancing. I got a capacity of 18, and I don't want anybody that would willingly tune into this shit.
Oh, brilliant. I think that pretty much sums up the vibe of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for our guests for coming. Izzy Lawrence, LJ DeFunk, Vladimir McTavish, Jay Sodagar. I've been Dave Chawner. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Thank you and goodbye.